Welcome, everybody. I'm going to turn on my camera so you guys can see me today. All right. Welcome, everybody, so far on the call. I do kind of expect people to pop in a little bit here and there on this call. It's going to be a little bit more casual, I think, than the last few of the calls that we've done. So excited today. I've gotten a lot of good response from people on some of the websites that you guys want me to take a look at, see if you guys here that sent in your sites already, and I have them here waiting for you. And so we're going to talk about, again today, website audit workshop. Some stuff that we can do to help you guys, that you can do to improve the flow of your website, the customer journey on your website, and overall conversion, whatever that means for your business. So we can go ahead and dive in. So I got a couple slides here with some important points. If you guys have questions, we'll kind of get to them towards the end of this little mini presentation that I have, and then we'll get into the live website audits. And to be fair, I haven't actually dove into all of the websites. I know a few of them in like Facebook groups and through email have sent me the sites that you guys would like me to look at. I haven't looked at any of them. I wanted to kind of use a framework of how I'm going to look at some of your websites and give you guys some specific feedback on them, which hopefully can help everybody. So if we don't have the time to look at your site today, then you can take some notes about the things that may apply to your business. But I wanted to make it kind of fair, so I'm not just off the top of my or preparing an entire presentation based on things that I've done on researching different websites that people have already sent me. So there's a couple of easy framework pieces that you can really use. First of all, a little bit more about who I am. I think everybody here probably knows who I am so far, but Steve Merrill started Bella Elle Boutique with my wife about 14 years ago. Since then, have sold over $50 million in clothing online since 2011. Started working digital in my agency about a year ago. My passion is really helping small business owners. I've had conversations with a few of you guys, and you guys know this, that I'm really passionate about helping people that have their own businesses and are really trying to just figure out the puzzle pieces to put in place in order to find success with what they do. I spend my time doing all of that. And it really fires me up, and I love that piece of what I do, having an impact with people. So, and this whole presentation is part of this weekly call that we do now is part of that as well. All right. So, first of all, every single website on the entire internet has two main, can be categorized into two main types. The first one being that it just provides information. And if you think about all of the different websites out there, informational websites would be sites, like Wikipedia, any news websites, any like even social media websites. Their entire goal is literally just to provide information to people. The second type is to drive conversion. So these are all your e-commerce websites, or even, conversion can be split up into two different places: purchases or leads. So one website, like a clothing website, the whole goal is to try to get people to buy clothing on that website. A leads website would be, I have something that I offer and I'm gathering people's information, and they give me their information, and then I continue the sales process probably somewhere else, which tends to be much larger ticket purchase items. Like very few people, I think, buy cars online now, which Tesla is actually changing that. But higher ticket purchase items, so like a coaching program, or obviously like a mortgage or things like that, that are higher ticket. People wouldn't typically just buy a house online like that. So your website is one of those two things. And if it isn't driving conversion as its primary goal, you're just providing information. And so keep that in mind as you're building your website. What am I doing here? What's the ultimate goal? It's I'm trying to get people to either convert, or I'm just providing information. Okay, common mistakes that I see that people make. And I call these the 3 Fs. It just fits, and it's an easy way for me to remember the way that you can set up your website and things that you want to avoid when you're doing it, that we sometimes get in our own way when we set up our websites. Number one is friction. This is by far the number one thing that I see people do on their websites that causes problems. And when I say friction, what I mean is things that get in the way of a customer making a purchase. And some of you may be thinking to yourselves when I say this, oops, I made that mistake. But the number one mistake is friction. And what that looks like in practice, and we'll get to it because I'm sure there's some sites that have this. It used to be very common that on a website, you would go to the website, there would be a big pop-up that interrupts you from even getting to the website, and then just says, hey, if you want some deals, put in your email address here so you can get to our website. That's very much been a practice that has been abandoned for a lot of different reasons, but is a really good example of how friction can really kill your process. That one thing decreases conversion significantly because people get tired of going to websites that have that and then ultimately just leave before they even have a decision to make on whether or not they're going to participate. So pop-ups are a big no-no on that. Having too many steps in your sales process. One of our clients, we ran some analytics, and their website had evolved over time, and they sell meal plans. And so meal delivery, meal plans, you can buy on the website a meal plan that can get sent to you. It's pre-cooked, and you can pick your different meal plan from it, and there's a lot of them out there. But over time, they had customer requests on different things that they could offer in their meal plans. And their sales process online became like 7 or 8 steps before you could even say, I'm going to buy this. And that was killing their conversion. As we looked at the analytics of how people drop off on each step, by the time they got to actually saying, I'm going to buy this thing, it reduced the number of people which were going to buy by like 80%. And so we made a change and just said, what if we directed people to that page and made it as simple as possible for them to buy from step 1? And it about doubled the amount of people that bought just from that one change that we made. So friction can literally kill your sales process online. Number 2 is function. And so function would be all of the things that are like the nuts and bolts of your website. Is the site loading fast? Is it extremely slow? Are you overusing pictures, which are causing it to load really slow? Does the site look really good on both mobile and a desktop display? Does your website very, very clearly communicate to your customer what it is that you do and the offer, your core offer of whatever it is that your company does and what you sell? And is it easy to understand those things from just popping in on your website? Yeah. The last one category here of common mistakes is flow. So flow is how easy is it for your customer to be able to find what they're looking for and whatever it is that you're selling on your website. This includes things like making sure you have category navigations very easily accessible. You have very clear call to actions built into your website that say things like add to cart or buy this program or whatever it might be. And then the navigation is extremely easy for people to go from one step to the next to find what they're looking for. Okay, so 3 common mistakes that I see. And I see that Kim here has a question. I'm going to let her go ahead and unmute yourself, Kim. I can answer that. Maybe.
I was just waving hi when you came in.
Oh, hi, okay. Kim. How are you? Okay, so we'll move on to the next slide here. Okay, this is just my contact information, guys. Feel free to take this down. I am accessible in all of these different ways. Give me a follow on both Instagram and Facebook. Text me if you have any questions. Again, that is my number that you can literally text me at. So feel free, if you have questions, please don't overuse that. And then that is obviously my email address as well. Okay, I did have a number of people which submitted their websites that we're going to take a look at here today. If there's somebody that's on the call, I want to give you guys priority, and you guys want to have your website looked at for sure, give a little hand raise and we can start there. And it looks like Kim popped in first. So everybody else, awesome. I have a number of people here. All right, Kim. So why don't we pop in there on Kim's first? You can go ahead and unmute yourself.
Okay.
All right. I'm going to change my presentation here. I'm going to pop in your website. And remind me again your site.
Ruffles and Bow Ties Boutique.
Perfect. And for those of you that have raised your hand there for us to take a look at your website, if you want to put into the chat your website URL, That way I can go ahead and pop it in. Is it rufflesandbowtiesboutique.com?
It's actually rufflesandbowties.boutique.
Okay. So that helps. Yeah, I would have gone to .com and it would have taken us to the wrong place. So I'm going to change my screen share here. So I'm not even going to hit enter yet on your website. And let me do this. Because we're going to take a look at a couple things, and I wanted to make sure that we look at everything there. So if you can see that screen, if you look in the URL there, does that look correct?
I can't make it.
Yeah.
It does, yes.
Okay, so I'm going to hit enter here. So to be fair, I'm not cheating and I didn't take a look before, obviously. So I'm going to hit enter there and we're going to pull it up. Okay. So the good news is if most of you guys are on Shopify, which you probably are, they create the infrastructure for your website that loads so well that one of the big issues that we used to have in e-commerce specifically is the number of images that you have on your website and how much time it takes for your user to load your website. To be fair, I'm also on a really high speed connection on a computer, a desktop computer right now. The experience that people have on a phone versus on a desktop computer for your website can be much, much different. Now, Shopify does a really, really good job of optimizing your website, your page speed load times. So it's something that you don't really have to worry about as much anymore if you're doing things properly within their framework. I went and hit load here on the site. So the first thing that I'm going to take a look at, number one, is does the website very clearly communicate to me, if I've never seen it before, which I haven't, what it is that you do and what you sell. So if you remember the 3 F's there, friction, function, and flow, do I understand what this website's trying to communicate to me? So I'm going to guess here, Kim, that your website probably sells kids targeted clothing.
That's correct, yes.
Perfect. All right, so step number 1, kind of a check mark here. As you could tell in my voice though, I'm a little bit confused still as to what it is that your company does, right?
Okay.
And so here's what I would recommend is making it very clear. A lot of times you'll see websites that have some kind of like a subtext or subheadline about what it is that you do. So Ruffles and Bowties, if you aren't like a Nike, right? Which obviously everybody knows Nike. You want to make sure anybody that goes to your website that's new, hopefully you're getting a ton of new people to your website, understand very, very clearly from step 1, what it is you do, not just your company name, right? And so if you're a kids boutique clothing retailer, maybe just a subheadline of children's boutique would be very, very helpful.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Other things that I'm going to look at here. As I loaded the page on a desktop device, what I'm looking at here is a massive banner that says Happy Holidays. Now, what I'm noticing as I mouse over it here, if I'm clicking on it, it does absolutely nothing.
Okay.
So this main real estate, when your website loads, before I do any scrolling, is called your above the fold content. And your above the fold content is the most expensive and useful real estate that you have on your entire website, because your homepage is probably going to be the page that gets the most traffic. And it's the one where people then decide what they're going to do next as a result of visiting your website. Okay. So a Happy Holidays image, while it's nice aesthetically, like cute little kid here on this this image, I love it. It does not do anything for me as a customer though to help me understand what I should do next. Okay. So this gets into that flow part. So I would you have to make a couple assumptions here about the customer that's visiting your website. Number 1, they probably already know what you do. And if they don't, they're having to guess about what they should do next. Okay. So I would recommend a couple of things on this hero image, which is this main one, the Happy Holidays. I would, number 1, probably make that smaller. I would compress it down, and we're going to get into the mobile display here in just a minute.
Okay.
So it doesn't take up so much real estate. With that, it should probably link to something like a holiday collection. And when you click on it, should take you there. And that Happy Holidays banner should have some kind of call to action that says shop holiday collection.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Having a banner here that's not clickable like this leans towards an informational site, right? So if you remember those two sites, there's either a conversion-based site or an informational-based site. And if you have something like this that takes up real estate, especially on your homepage like this, you're turning yourself into an informational site. So don't let your aesthetics take place of your customer journey.
Okay.
Okay.
So that is a standard size for Shopify. Should I just take it out completely? Because I do have below some floating screens.
Yep, we'll get to that in a second. So it depends on the way that you set up your website. So for Shopify, there's a number of different tools that you can use in order to set up your pages. If you're using the default theme editor on your website, one of the challenges of that is that you have to live within the tools that you're given by the theme editor, by Shopify, right? And so with that, the standard, quote unquote, standard size that you see here, if this is the standard size, and can you actually upload or use an image that may be a smaller banner vertically?
I can try. I believe I did that many years ago and it made it very blurry because it still made it expand to the same size.
Yeah. So what I'd recommend is there's a number of apps out there if you're on Shopify. And I know that's probably one of the last things you want to hear if you're on Shopify is like add another app in. But go to the App Store and just search for page editors. There's a couple that we've used, either Pagefly or one called Shogun. And both of those have the ability to let you put together your pages, especially your homepage, however you want. And so the size of the banners, what images you use, and we'll get into the mobile versus desktop display here in just a minute. But the way that your entire page looks can be customized 100%.
Oh, okay. Awesome.
Okay. So those are some handy tools for you guys that you want to take note of. Okay. So the first thing I do before I do any scrolling is I'm going to compress this down into what somebody would see on a mobile device. And I'm going to hit reload here. Okay, so for some reason at the top of the screen here, I see this quiz text. Not sure what that is. Maybe you have an app or something that you had in place there that's now not loading properly, but I would definitely take a look at that.
Okay. Oh.
Okay, so I'm glad, actually really, really happy to see that this image scaled down very nicely onto a mobile device. And this is actually pretty good. So you see this mobile device real estate here. I love the search bar at the top here. If I type in pants, what do I see? One recommendation here, if you don't have an app or maybe it's just not loading, having a autocomplete search bar or search tool is extremely helpful. So as people type in, it's much like Google, right? And they're pretty cheap now. When people start typing in, it starts filling in recommendations of products from your website directly from the search bar.
Okay.
So I would look into that. In terms of searching for things on your site, makes that experience 100 times better.
Okay, I will look into that.
Yeah. So again, your main hero image here, your happy holidays, it should be clickable, should have a call to action. Down here below, so you have your slider just below that. If you have, and I love seeing this now, so this gets into some of the better stuff. So we have below in your slider here, this is bouncing through some of the imagery. This tells me a little bit more about what you do. So this may be a bit redundant in terms of the happy holidays banner that you have. This hero, you could use your slider as a hero image here, and it seems like these are clickable.
Yes, they are. They should be.
Good. I would also be very, very careful though with sliders to have too much stuff too fast. Okay. It's very tempting to want to add in a number of things that are going to give customers the ability to see what they're actually going to get into. The reality of it is that most of your website visitors probably spend 3 to 5 seconds on this page before they decide what to do next.
Okay.
So when they're popping through this stuff, they're not sitting here like watching a movie saying what's next, what's next, what's next, and then deciding which one to click on. They probably already know what they want to do. And as soon as they see it or go to find it, they're going to go to that place that they can click on to actually make that happen. Okay.
Okay.
So sliders are tempting, but I would hesitate in actually using them. What I would rather see, especially on a mobile device, and I'm going to focus most of the time on websites here on mobile devices. If you guys haven't looked at your analytics, I would suggest that you do. In most of the e-commerce world right now, about 80% to 85% of traffic is on a mobile device. So people aren't sitting at home on their computers looking at your websites anymore. It's all on mobile devices, which is number one priority, mobile first for everybody on their site. So you want to make sure that everything looks good first on your mobile, and then secondary on your desktop. But when we're setting sites up, what do we do? We tend to look at it on a desktop and then forget about how it looks on a mobile device. So always make sure you do that. Okay, so in terms of your homepage, I love that you have different options here. You have a different collection here, Christmas Zippy. Hopefully my wife doesn't see some of this stuff. We have a 1-year-old at home, so she'd probably love to order some of these cute stuff. Instead of having a slider, what I'd recommend is having maybe some additional subcategory banners here on your main site that break up the different collections that you have that are much easier clickable for people.
Okay.
And if you consolidate by getting rid of this happy holidays or changing that so it's linkable, it gives you a little bit more real estate to be able to have subcategory collection banners on your site that people can just jump right to. And people love to do that rather than either go through a slider or, which I'll get to in a minute, your menus here.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm bouncing through here. A couple other things, I'll get to that in just a minute. So I love kind of these collections that you have here. Looks good. So you have a couple actual products on your homepage. So I would, on the products themselves, couple notes here.
Okay.
Looks like as I mouse over, it's trying to load something which isn't working exactly right. So I'm not sure what that is. Maybe you want to look into that.
Okay.
But as I scroll through here, you have quite a few products on your homepage. So a couple points here. Number one, people typically don't shop for specific products on your homepage. They're going to go to your homepage and say, I want to see all of the rompers, or I want to see all of the holiday collection, or I want to see everything that's new. So when people are showing products on the homepage, maybe you want to feature some things that you're trying to sell or push. Maybe they're new things, very seasonal collections type things, but I would probably limit it to maybe 3 or 4 specific items. And the reason why is that somebody's visiting your homepage. Number one, they're probably trying to look at a collection. And if they see a product, they're going to see that one thing, but then they're going to ask themselves, well, what are all the other rompers that they have? So they're going to try to compare and do that shopping, right?
Okay.
So the likelihood that somebody's going to click on a specific product on your homepage and go right to purchasing that product is very, 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 very small, right?
Okay.
Unless you find somebody like a needle in the haystack that's like, that's exactly what I was looking for. I'm going to go right to that product and buy it without doing any additional shopping, which typically does not happen.
Okay.
Okay. So I would limit the use of specific products on a homepage like this. Second is that this is so far down below the above the fold content. If you guys look at some tools that you use to monitor your website analytics, and here's a couple free tools you can use. Obviously, Google Analytics is one of those. Another one that's extremely helpful, that's completely free, is called Microsoft Clarity. You can set it up on your website very, very easily, and it actually records user sessions on your website and then gives you heat maps of how people interact on your website as a whole. So Microsoft Clarity, very easy to set up. And then you can watch live user sessions on your website to see how people are interacting with your site.
Okay.
And what you'll find is that the further down you get below the above the fold content, the number of people which actually get down to this content below here drops significantly. So by the time you get to this bottom part of your website, maybe 0.01% of people ever even see that. And then that might be like you or the people that work at your company and are setting up the menus on your site. So few people see that kind of content that's that far down, especially on your homepage, it almost becomes irrelevant.
Okay.
And so be very, very intentional about what you put, especially closer to the top here. Okay. I like the collections, but maybe on the collections themselves, because on a mobile device, real estate is so limited. There's a lot of white space on these collection banners. So if you had a way to put like a double collection display, so like on one half of the screen it had Christmas zippies, on the second half it had Christmas pajamas, like a double display of products or images,
Okay.
that's going to double the amount of content that you can put on your page further up, and then it gets rid of a lot of this white space that's just taking up space for no reason.
Nope, that sounds awesome.
Okay. I'm going to pop this back open to a desktop display here. I want to see how that looks. Okay, so obviously it does make a little bit more sense on a desktop device, but again, maybe 20% of people, 15-20% of people are viewing your website on a desktop display. I would also recommend that these subtext items are a bit redundant. So if you have the ability to click a box and get rid of those, I'd probably do that.
Okay.
Okay, that makes sense. All right, why don't we jump into a collection page here? All right, tell me a little bit about the text at the top of the page.
Just basically trying to tell customers about kids' first birthday parties or first birthdays and their outfits. And I haven't read it lately, so I don't know exactly what it says.
So if you haven't read it lately, I would make you guess how many of your customers are reading it.
Probably none.
None. Zero.
Okay.
Nobody's going to read that. Okay.
Okay.
If somebody's in a shopping mindset, the last thing they're going to do is take the time to read like 6 or 7 paragraphs of information about whatever it is that's on the page. Like
Okay.
all I want to do as a shopper is see the stuff that you're trying to sell. That's
Okay.
it. I want to scroll through the stuff and see if I like it. Think about it as like Instagram, right? If you see a post on Instagram that's like 7 paragraphs long in an image, what are you probably going to do? You're just going to scroll right past it.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. And again, it's your above the fold content. It's taking up super valuable space. Somebody may see this, like, and if that's what they see when they click that collection, they might think, what the heck? I got to the wrong place, and then just like get out of it.
Okay. That makes
Right.
sense.
Okay. Let's go back to that. Another point that I do want to make, some people do add text like this on pages for SEO purposes, which doesn't really work much anymore. It could add some value, but if you do that, put it at the bottom of the page so it doesn't interrupt the customer flow.
Okay.
Okay, so your products don't look too bad. I like the images. They look really good. I'm not sure what this little pop down thing is. Again, it probably only loads on a desktop like this, but as I scroll through here, it definitely pops something down like that. Okay, let's jump into your product page. Okay, it gives me this pop up at the top, which I'll skip. So we have more time for people. Okay. Looking at your product page, not bad. I would probably not make this pop up on your page because it pushes the content down, especially as I'm in the middle of the customer shopping journey. As I scroll down here, I'm looking at your product page, and a couple recommendations here. I see a lot of sites that have these buy now buttons turned on automatically. So they have like Buy with Shop Pay or the Apple Pay or Google Pay or these other ones that are already set up. I would always recommend turning those off because nobody's going to go from this page to buying right now.
Okay.
Typically, people will go through a customer journey of shopping different products, and they will add to cart, go to the cart, remove products they don't want, and then eventually buy, which is the typical shopping journey. Okay?
Right.
Again, if you add a tool like Microsoft Clarity, you'll be able to tell how many people actually use that type of function on your website. If you're an anomaly and a lot of your customers do use that functionality, great. You might as well keep it, but you want to make sure it's intentional. So if somebody has that on, you have it on your website, there's got to be a reason for it.
Okay.
Okay. I would say the same thing with the social sharing buttons here. In my experience, nobody uses those. And so while it may not take up any additional space on your website, if people don't use it, again, be intentional about the space that's being taken up and make sure that you have the things there that people are actually going to utilize. Okay. Let's scroll through here. Okay. So I'm going to stop there with your site. Hopefully that's some good stuff for you in terms of feedback. Did you have any specific questions?
No, I was just, I mean, our conversions are not very good. And obviously there's a reason why, whether it's the product or how the website's set up. So, any information that you've given me today is, I mean, really good information for us to try because I've never heard of it before. So thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, hopefully that was very helpful for you.
It was.
All right. Thanks, Kim. All right. Why don't we go to Alexis? You can unmute yourself here and tell me what your site is.
Hi, Steve.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Fantastic. All right. Did you put your site in the chat there?
I did. It's shopdaisydunes.com.
Got it. All right. We're going to do a similar exercise here. Okay. So I'm going to guess you sell socks, accessories, maybe a kids kind of thing. Oh, I'm going to stop right there. So tell me what you do.
You're on the right track. So socks, accessories. It's not all for kids. It's more like, I would say, tweens, women for sure. I do have some older customers, but the stuff that I sell is usually for like, I don't know, I'd say like 15-year-olds to 50 maybe. Depends on how young you are.
Got it. That's your customer. What's the actual products?
Wait, say that one more time.
That's the customer, which is great. What's the actual products that you sell if you describe those?
I'd say accessories. There's some decor, but it's mostly accessories, like wearable stuff.
Okay.
Little trinkets for the house, sun catchers, which obviously you see. So yeah, I would say accessories generally.
Okay, cool. So number one, how can you communicate that better to people when they visit your homepage? That would be your goal number one on this page. Okay. Number two is, and I kind of already mentioned this a little bit, is this pop up onto your website. And if I'm going to compress this down to what it looks like on a mobile device, is it looks like this. If we're talking about the things that I started with at first, this adds friction and it eliminates flow for people on your website. Now, I get the desire to want to collect email addresses for people that are coming to your website, but a modal like this that interrupts the customer journey is going to get more people leaving your website than people that are going to enter their information and collect that from those people on your website. What I would recommend instead of this is, depending on how you set these up, do you have these integrated with like your email platform?
Yes, Klaviyo.
Okay, perfect. So I love Klaviyo. They have a fly-in option instead of a modal like this, which pops in more towards the bottom of your site and doesn't interrupt the customer flow quite as much. And people can easily click out of it. Okay, I would recommend a fly-in that then allows people to opt in that way that doesn't completely interrupt the customer journey.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so I'm going to close that out. Okay. So we have our main hero image here. Let me reload that to make sure that it looks good on mobile here the way it is. Okay. So like I talked about with Kim, the main hero image here definitely needs to communicate what it is you do when I go to your website. And on mobile, it looks good on a desktop, but on mobile, it's a bit hard to read some of the text here. So again, mobile first, 85% of people are going to be on a mobile device. So the text that you see here is going to be completely irrelevant to anybody that's visiting your site. Again, the image doesn't link and it doesn't have any kind of call to action. So make use of that real estate so you push people towards the thing that you're trying to get them to do right up front.
Okay.
I see a product page. You might understand what I'm going to say next about that. Product pages are super, super difficult, or products on your homepage are extremely difficult. Something that's going to help me as a customer to understand what you do better would be directing me more towards collections or categories of what you sell that also helps communicate the things that people are going to be able to shop. So instead of having a cupcake socks product on your homepage, maybe you would want to link to a collection that has all of the socks.
Okay. I have a couple questions.
Sure.
The first one is the banner image. So I've been recommended by Shopify to not make that clickable because of click happy people on mobile who are like, oh yeah, I see you're smiling. Have you found that that's like a true thing or no?
Because of click happy people on mobile, I'm going to assume that that means that people will go to your website and accidentally click on
Because
that
they're
image.
because they're trying to scroll down and they accidentally click on the banner image.
Okay. I've never heard that before. And I think that's why they invented the back button. But I I would completely argue with that as being horrible advice.
Okay.
If your main hero image is set up properly, it's going to have a very seasonal, timely, customer aligned call to action that's very branded, right? And so, and maybe updating this to, like, if you have a holiday collection for things that are your top sellers or generic, like new arrivals or top selling products, whatever it is, even if people click on it by accident, it's like, oops, I found what I want.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. And so look at the analytics and see what your top, if you don't know where to start, see what your top collections are in terms of where people navigate to on your website. And then just do a hero image that links to that. But people that accidentally click, that's an interesting recommendation.
Okay.
And it may be because I know that in Shopify, when you use the default theme setup, if you have a hero image like this, by default, you cannot add a link to it. Which is why I use a lot of tools like a Shogun or a Pagefly editor that allows me to set it up however I want with images and links and everything like that. And so if that's the reason why they may be saying that, I think that that's a fallacy to just say, like, people get click happy and accidentally go to wherever it is you're directing them.
Okay.
Okay. Did you have another question specifically?
I was just going to comment on the cupcake sock thing. That was not there like a couple of days ago. I just put it there because of a deal set I'm working with. So it was kind of like a temporary thing, but that's all about the cupcake socks.
Got it. So I'm going to scroll down here. I do see some branding kind of stuff. Looks like your autumn collections here could probably be a little bit more timely to winter type collections. Let's see. A little bit more branding type content. So some of the text here does take up quite a bit of real estate, which when people are in a shopping mode, they're not going to take the time to read a lot of text here. So I would start with imagery. If you want to do some text overlays on images that very briefly talk about whatever it is that you're trying to communicate, maybe do that, but limit the use of some of the text like this for sure. Okay, I'm scrolling down here. All right, see some additional products. So not bad. I do see limited use of products here, but again, we're getting quite down below the fold here, and we have a lot of stuff. Daisy Dunes. All right, you have a lot on your homepage there. So again, use a tool like Microsoft Clarity. See how people actually scroll through on your website. I would say very, 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 very few people are even getting down to this far down on your website, especially on a mobile device like this. Okay, where should I go from here? You tell me.
You want to go to any collection page?
Sure. Let's go to, what's your most popular?
Right now, socks.
All right, let's go. So I would highly recommend that be one of the primary navigation points on your website, right towards the top. So a banner that says, shop socks, and a link right to it.
Okay.
Okay. I see 5 different sock products here. Do you have more products than that?
Not in socks.
Okay. And then let me click into one of them. All right. So I like the imagery. I do like the ability to have all of these products within the same, so you can compare in an image. Let me scroll through here. It looks like you do have different product images, so pretty good images. I like it. I love the reviews display here. It's a great placement there. Who do you use for your reviews?
Judge Me.
Cool. So there's a lot of different tools out there that do that. Having reviews, everybody should be collecting reviews on your website. If you're not, do it ASAP, because you can't go back in time and get them from people after they buy if you don't have it set up. So good job there. The variations, great. Now, one thing I will point out before I get back to this product page, I'm going to go back. And I would look into a tool that allows you to split up your variations and show them on a collection page. There's a couple of tools out there that do it. And the reason why is if I'm looking at the Cozy Cupcake socks, once I get into that product page, there's what, 1, 2, 3, 4, like 10, 9, 10 different colors of that sock. Before I go to that, I don't understand that there's even that many different options for me to look at purchasing. And so you could have your Cozy Cupcake socks, but if you have them on a collection page where it's splitting it up between the colors, you're going to see different products on a collection page that make it easier for a customer to shop, right? Because if they're looking for something that's like a navy color or a blue color and they're seeing on the collection page only red and pink, they may skip right through it. Yeah.
You're saying that it's possible to have an app installed that splits up those 9 colors so they're all looking as different product tiles on the collection page, but when they click on any of them, they go to the same product page.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, so thank you for restating that. Maybe I didn't say it as succinctly as you did, but that's exactly what it would do. And all the big sites do that because it creates a better experience for the customer when they're shopping. And you'd want to do it based on obviously like something like color. I wouldn't recommend doing it on things like size, but on color, it makes a lot of sense because it presents them as a different product. And then it does help out with some of your navigation and collection pages that people can filter by just all the black items or all of the red items and so forth.
Right. How would that work if you're working with like sites that are taking their customers to your website, like deal sites, for example, and you want to make sure I want to make sure all of these variants are on this product page and I want to give them just like one link. Does that make sense?
Sure. Yep. So you can link still to the product. It doesn't actually split the product up. What it does is it keeps the integrity of the product setup on your site, but then on the collection page, it's going to just simply show products as variants.
Okay.
And so it would say like Cozy Cupcake Socks dash pink or Cozy Cupcake Socks dash gray. And then it would show them here as different products, but any one of those variants you click on goes to this same exact product page.
Okay. Do you have an example of one of those apps?
I do. I can look at you. Why don't you shoot me an email and then I'll reply. There's a couple of them out there. There's one I know off the top of my head, which we've used. It's quite expensive though. It's called Fast Simon, but it offers tools like your pre-populated search. It does all of your filters and navigations. There's some AI tools built into it. There's, I think, another one by Boost Commerce. And again, if you go onto the Shopify App Store and search for tools that do like collection sorting, some of them will do that.
Okay.
But again, send me an email and I can give you a list.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
You're welcome. Product descriptions look good. Ooh, I like the video. Very cool. Reviews. Are these static reviews?
What do you mean by that? They're just like in
Meaning-
the description.
Yeah. Okay, got it.
They're from Judge Me. I mean, I had to physically type them in there, but yeah.
Got it. So I see you have information on reviews on your website here. This is probably loading dynamically from the app, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but then you have some reviews here above.
Right.
What's your thought process there?
It's probably redundant. I was just a business coach recommended that I like physically, if I have good reviews, then put them in the product description so that they're seen before, I guess. Can you scroll down a little bit? What's after the teal, after the GIF? So basically the recommendation was before you even see frequently bought together, talk up the product as much as you possibly can. So take a couple of reviews and put them in your product description.
Do you think that helped?
Good question. I wish I could track something like that on Hotjar because I can't.
Yeah.
Unless they stop and read them, I don't know.
Right. And so if you're going to do an experiment like that, and I would highly recommend everybody, when you make changes to your website, go through a process of understanding, okay, number one, what's my hypothesis? I think that if I add some reviews statically on the product page that I just type in here, it's going to help increase conversion after I do that. and then you add it in, and then you pay very close attention to that product that you added it into and see, did it help increase conversion before or after you did that? If not, then it's completely redundant. Which means that you can remove it and have no negative impact. And I'm always a favor of minimalism. So if you go the other way of not taking up real estate for no reason on your site, if it's not doing anything, get rid of it.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Any other, I want to get to a few others here, but any other specific questions?
I don't think so. Thank you so much.
Okay. You're welcome. Thanks, Alexis. All right. Let me jump into the list here. I think we got Tiffany next. You unmute yourself there and we can take a look at your site. Which one's yours?
Hi, I'm the goldcactus.com.
Perfect. How are you, Tiffany?
Good, thank you.
Gold cactus. All right. Pop up here. Tell me about your site.
So it's kind of been just a vehicle that we've just had. We haven't had a lot of traffic. We kind of use it just to integrate with our finale and just everything. But lately I've been trying to do more with it. So it's pretty simple.
Cool. And what do you do?
We sell women's accessories.
Okay. So recommendation number one, you're probably going to guess if you've been on the call, would be I need to understand what you do by loading your page without having to scroll. Okay. So I see Christmas sale. I briefly see a little bit of clothing if I'm looking at the bottom of the page in the middle banner there. But I need to understand what it is that you're selling, and your customer needs to know what it is you do without having to take any additional action from this page. I like the holiday-based imagery, but having product in that main image is going to significantly help. Even you can use some stock type images of like clothing or accessories and things like that, or even take some your own if you have the ability to do professional photography. But it has to represent what it is your brand is. Cap, I'm going to look at your mobile display. Did you have any specific questions?
Like I said, it's pretty simple and I'm just trying to get it going and stuff. So I'm just open to any suggestions, really.
Okay, so like I've told a few others, the main hero image here should absolutely be clickable. So if I'm going to click on this, what you'll find if you use a tool like Microsoft Clarity, people will actually click on that banner and try to take advantage of whatever that deal is. If it's offering some promotion and if it's not going anywhere, then you're kind of wasting some real estate there. So you got some collections here, new arrivals, clothing, gifting. I like it. This Christmas gift guide does render a bit small on mobile. So maybe I would want to look at creating a secondary image that shows on your mobile display that renders those text items a little bit bigger.
Okay.
Yeah. I would probably take this collection list and move it up towards the top, because I like this collection display here. Again, don't let aesthetics get in the way of flow and function. And so if that's the thing, you're like, well, I don't like the way that looks as much. If people see the way that it looks, but they click on it, then looks is going to be secondary to flow and function.
Okay. Yeah, we just added I just added that top gift picks this week because I was like, oh, I feel like the whole page needed something extra with the holidays, but normally it's pretty simple.
Yeah, I love this type of display. So for everybody else on the call, like I've been talking about, some category type displays on a mobile device, it takes up very little real estate. It links to 6 different collections. You could probably add more if you wanted to, but makes it easy for people to find what they're looking for. And so it's a really good example of how to create better flow on your website. And the functionality is very, very easy to understand. These are all linkable. And so I love this part of your site. I would just recommend moving it up probably towards the top here, making this collection main hero image clickable to go to whatever your main offer is. You would find probably 75–80% of people wouldn't even scroll past that if you had it set up that way.
Okay.
Okay. I'm going to go down here. Okay. What else? What do you think you'd like me to take a look at?
I guess go ahead and just like click on new arrivals and
If you have the ability to do so, again, there's tools that'll help you to do this as well on your collection pages. There's a lot of white space here. I would probably try to split up and do a 2-image display side by side on mobile. So you can have much more real estate or much less real estate being used to display the same amount of content. So kind of like the side by side one I was saying I loved, like this. If you had it split up that way for your products on your collection pages, you're going to be able to show a lot more in a lot less space. Okay.
Okay.
I love the reviews on the collection page here. Those are great. Let me get to the bottom. I'm curious. Okay. Do you have a finite number of products that are displaying on your collection pages, or do you have like an infinite scroll setup?
For the collections, I just go in and just, add products. So it's just whatever I want to put in it.
Got it. So another recommendation here, just like I talked about previously with Alexis, would be looking into an app that would allow you to split the different colors of your product into different products on the collection page.
Yeah, I like that idea. I didn't know, like initially when I started building the website, I would put in every color, but that's just too crazy. So I didn't realize there was an app that you could do that where it would split them so you could see each variation.
Yeah, I love it. And the other thing it does, right, is if you have one product in 5 different colors, all of a sudden you have 5 times the number of products in a collection that people can shop. And so both look and feel wise, it is better for your overall site because people see all of the different variations, not just the main image that you select for the product itself. And then as a business, 5 times the amount of products on a collection page that people can shop, the stuff that typically wouldn't get exposed on a collection page like that, it always gets more views. Okay. Again, I would test removing your buy now buttons. Probably remove those. I would doubt many people are actually using those. I love the aesthetics of the page here. I did see you had a reviews app set up, right? You probably just don't have reviews for this product. Is that right?
Correct. Yeah, I don't have any for that. I use Judge Me also.
Got it. Yeah, overall good stuff. The last thing I would say is when I'm looking at your site on a desktop display like this, your main imagery here does take up a lot of room. Maybe look at compressing that a little bit vertically so it doesn't take as much above the fold space. I like your menus here. Looks good. Okay.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you. All right. I think that's Claudia up next. Is that right? Dream Life Boutique.
Hi, yeah.
How are you?
Good, thank you.
Good. So I've already got yours preloaded here. You let me know before you commented on that post in Facebook. So great. So I'm going to hit into here. So before I do this, anything that you want me to take a look at specifically?
Well, we just launched it yesterday, so I know there are many things we need to fix. So it's brand new.
Yeah.
I might have
So-
some, I don't know. Go ahead. Sorry.
I love the aesthetic so far. Again, some of the other sites, I'm going to try to go quick because there's a few people here still in line. So, and I'm fine to go a little bit long here, guys. So I don't need to cut off exactly at 1 o'clock. I'm happy to spend some time with you guys and help you out. I want to make sure everybody gets a chance that wants to. So I would definitely say number 1, the pop-up on the front page like this, I would limit that. Probably use more of a fly-in on the page instead of something that completely interrupts the user flow. At the top of the site here, these banners are typically a bit redundant. Unless you, and I see multiple different banners here. So you have this one that cycles through. In my mind, that just creates chaos in the user's mind where they're looking at whatever your site is and there's just a lot going on. So in my mind, simpler the better.
Okay.
What I would probably do is it looks like you have a lot of menus here. So I'm going to get to mobile in just a minute. But you have probably 2 menu sections here, about, contact, returns. Maybe put that up into the primary navigate or the main navigation up at the top in that bar. Get rid of this little slider here. And then that would allow you to compress and take up less real estate above the fold here.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then you have your primary navigation directly here. So I'm clicking on some of these and they don't seem to be working for some reason.
Oh,
Maybe
well,
it's this menu here. Let me go back. Okay, those are working now. So yeah, that pop-up limited the use of
okay.
some of those navigation menus. Okay, let me look at your mobile. Okay, so not bad here. Again, there you want to try to have a image that's going to look just as good on mobile as it does on your desktop display. Some of the imagery, as it's compressed down, if you use the same image, both the text and the image, it renders much, much differently on a mobile device than on a desktop, which is what you kind of see here. So some of the text is small, but I can't even really tell what some of this product might look like if I'm viewing it on a mobile device. So your mobile image should be much bigger imagery, a much bigger text relative to what you'd see on a desktop device.
Okay.
Okay, and so you have the buy now button. That's an interesting call to action. I would probably change that to like a shop now. Buy now can be intimidating for some people, especially with like Amazon, who has the buy now button. People get used to that. I'm not ready to buy now. I can shop, but I'm not ready to buy.
Okay.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
All right. You do have some product featured here. I like that it's in a slider so it doesn't take up as much real estate, but I would lean towards more of category collection or the collection banners on your homepage instead of going right to products. That would be immediately just below your main image, your hero image, more like shop tops, shop outerwear, shop pants, or whatever it might be. Okay. To the point of some of the others that I looked at, it's a lot more clear when I visit your site there what your site is. So some of the imagery, if you have more collection banners there, it's going to tell people, oh, like, okay, there's products in like a tops collection or outerwear collection. I get what it is they're selling without having to research much or think about it much.
Okay.
Okay. Again, I would limit the use of products on the homepage here, lean more towards categories, category displays. Your imagery looks really good. I like it. I think it communicates really well. Okay, why don't we look at a collection page? I like your menus there. So easy to use, very clear what I'm trying to look at, nothing too fancy. I like the double display here. So for some of the others, this is exactly what I was trying to refer to when I talked about having good use of real estate on a collection page. And so the double display of imagery, I love that. It takes up a lot less real estate, shows more products. I would encourage you to get away from the use of a choose options button like this. If people are going to shop, they're just going to go right to the product page and select the options there. So that's just going to take up real estate and isn't really needed. Yeah, you got a buy it now button again. Again, I would take a look at not using a buy it now button like that. On your product pages, I would look into the use of collapsible text boxes to use things like to display things like your size charts and additional text that you have about products. Because if I'm on a product page like this and I scroll down, I see a lot of text and a size chart, and it's pushing down a lot of the stuff below it, which also is like your recommended products, which I love that you have that. And then some of your collections here. So that would be my recommendation there. Again, if you don't have a reviews app installed, I would highly suggest getting one installed now. So when you start out selling and people are buying, you can start collecting reviews right away.
Well, I don't have any because I was just on Jane.
Yep.
We don't have any.
And I understand that.
We got 16,000 before now.
Yeah. And which is great, right? And I wish we could take those and add them in if you had those that you could put them in on the products. But with your products that you have set up here, what you don't want to do is have the products that people are buying and not be collecting reviews when people do buy them, right? And so you got to start somewhere. Look for something that's going to allow you to collect reviews for people moving ahead. And as you go by, you're going to, even if you start small, start collecting those now.
Okay.
Thank you. Did you have any other questions I can answer for you?
Well, actually, when somebody's going to buy one of the tops or whatever, how they can leave the review. So I need to have available that option on the website, or how does it
Yeah,
work?
so there's a number of apps out there that'll do that. So, and what will happen with a lot of these apps is when people buy, it'll send them an email like a couple weeks after they buy saying, "Hey, we'd love to hear what you thought," and then they just click in it and leave a review.
Okay. Do you have an idea of any kind of app?
There's a bunch of them. So there's Judge.me, which is one that I've seen a few other people use here I'm familiar with. There's one called Okendo, which is a really popular one that people use. So those are two really examples. I would also recommend doing a little bit of research. There's probably 50 of them available on the Shopify App Store.
Wonderful. Okay, thank you.
Yep, you're welcome. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, I think we already got to Tiffany here. So Product Barn, who's that?
That is me, Jessica.
Jessica, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm fantastic.
Good.
Okay, and then your site, did you put in the chat there?
Yeah, it's theproductbarn.com.
Theproductbarn.com. Tell me a little bit about what you do.
So we do laser engraved and cut items, mostly home decor. Right now, it's almost all ornaments.
Okay. So I'm going to look at it mobile first. Okay. So pretty straightforward here. Laser engraved goods. I like the subheading menu there, or the subheading text there that tells me a little bit about what you do right from the get-go. It's pretty clear about what you do. I would definitely add a hero image there that has something maybe seasonal about your top collection that takes up the entire width of the page.
Okay.
Okay. It's just a really good way to brand aesthetically. It tends to flow really, really well. But I do like the collections that you have here. Question though, you have two collections, it appears, and then you have a slider of some products, and that's about it. Okay. Tell me about that.
Honestly, kind of the same as with the Dream Life. Most of our stuff was on sales, our sales were on Jane. So I hadn't done a whole lot with this. I updated to this craft theme recently, and this is kind of the default. So I just put in kind of our best collections and then some of our top sellers that Christmas themed right now.
I like it. I would recommend just adding a hero image there that links people to maybe the most popular collection. And the slider there. Sliders are hard on product pages or for products on a home page. People typically aren't going to sit here and go through the products like this. If you're going to add products, I'd say maybe 3 or 4 of them and just put them in like a grid instead of a slider there. And that way they're a little bit more accessible. In terms of content, and I've seen a few other pages that do this. The above the fold content is going to be the most important. I do like the subscription kind of in the footer there, but below this, take the opportunity. I know that maybe you don't have a bunch of reviews. I see the link there. If you have some kind of review database, put those in and have some type of a display that shows like an aggregate of them. As you get more and more reviews, it's helpful for customer to see how valid your site is. If you have like showing, we have 2,000 reviews and we're rated a 4.9 over all those reviews, right? Like that helps by validating your brand. So, and if you don't have a bunch of them, start now.
Okay. Perfect.
I'm going to look at a collection page here. Anything specifically you want me to look at?
No, any of them are fine. They're all pretty much the same.
Yeah, I'm looking through here. I like your imagery. Imagery looks really, really good. So good job there.
Awesome. Thank you.
It's easy to see what you guys are selling. I like the double display on the collection pages like this. I'm just going to pick one of them here, this fancy Coach gift card holder. Very cool.
It's our best seller. So.
Oh, is it? It got me. Okay, very easy display here. I would play with, and this is probably a recommendation for everybody, the colors on your add to cart button. It's important. People will associate the color of your add to cart with what they should do as an action. And there's been studies done on this, and they found that adding a red button So I'd highly recommend you don't add to cart button. It's red for people because they associate it with stop, and it decreases your conversion from like 8 to 12% just because of the color of the button. On the other hand, if you add it as a green tone, most people associate that with go, which makes it somehow psychologically easier in their mind to say, I'm going to add this to cart.
Okay.
And it kind of tends to do the opposite. When it's the same tone as everything else on your site, I see it's probably about the same tone as the text colors that you have. It tends to get lost. And so that in and of itself can help decrease add to carts and ultimately conversion, because that gets lost. It should stand out. So whatever color it is, it should contrast the color scheme that you have on the text and the rest of your site.
Okay.
Yeah. I've seen people use like a light orange, even like a pink, and it definitely stands out, or even like a yellow or gold color. But green across all the studies that are done shows that it tends to perform the best, which seems silly, but it's true. Yeah. So you do have some reviews. Very cool. So I would go back to what I said initially about the aggregate review display on your homepage. Add some of that.
Okay.
Okay. I would also say on your review display, whatever app you use, see if they can do like a star rating on your product itself directly below the name of the product on the page.
Okay.
Okay. That's going to just add some validity to people. And if you go back to the collection page, I would also, perfect. You have those there as well. So love that.
Awesome.
Yeah. I would have you look into how many people actually click on this Our Reviews side panel, because it does tend to visually interrupt the flow a bit. And so if people click on it and actually look at your reviews, great. I'm much more a fan of putting it somewhere where it's accessible, but does not overtake the real estate on my entire site.
Okay.
Yeah. Anything else specifically you want me to look at?
No, but I do have a question about when I'm in the back end of my Shopify, it says that the speed of my store is slower than most. So like, how do I fix that? Like, what do I do?
I've never seen a store that says your store is faster than most. Never, not once. Not all of the stores that I've built, none of the stores that I've worked on for other people. As a general rule, you want to try to keep your page load times in around 3 seconds or under. So as I'm loading your site here, it seems like it's fine.
I think you have really good internet, because it is a little bit slower on my phone.
Yeah,
when I try to just load on my phone, it probably is in that like sometimes up to 4 to 5 second load. And
I would contrast that as well. If you look at some of the big sites, right, like Fashion Nova or other major sites that get a ton of traffic, they're on Shopify as well, and their page load times are garbage. They have so much stuff on their website that loads all at the same time, and their page loads are probably 4 to 5, maybe 6 seconds. Right.
Okay.
And so what's really important there? I mean, page load times are important, but if your traffic is not in the like 100,000 plus per month, then your page load time probably isn't affecting conversion as much as you think. It's probably not as important. And so I would caveat that just by saying, like, depending on the amount of traffic and sales you have right now, your page load times probably aren't the thing that's going to be the biggest challenge for you. Right.
Okay.
Shopify puts that in there. There's some things that you can do as low-hanging fruit. If you want some recommendations, make sure your images just aren't major file sizes when you upload them. You want to have them as small as possible size-wise. I would say images for your products should probably be around 100K or less.
Okay.
If you can get them that small, great, without reducing any of your image quality.
Yeah. Okay.
But Shopify does a great job of optimizing images automatically when you upload them. So again, I wouldn't worry about that as being like the thing that's going to make or break right now.
Okay.
Yep. Any other questions?
Nope. I don't think I have any other specifics right now.
All right. Thanks for letting me take a look at your site.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. Ryan, I see you up there next. Looks like you popped in there. How are you, Ryan? Oh, looks like it's not Ryan. Looks like it's Charisse. Oh, you got both of them. Both of you guys. I don't hear you guys, just so you know.
It's both of us.
How are you?
Good.
So I'm typing it in here, and obviously I've been there before because it's populating automatically for me.
We've cheated.
You cheated a little bit, didn't
Well, no, we have cheated because
you? We did, yes.
we've already kind of done this.
Yes, a little bit, haven't we? Which is great. Yeah. So Ryan and Sharice, for everybody else, they work with us here at Working Digital, and they've been great to work with. So also happy to have the opportunity to take a look at your site here. And just like I've said to others, I would highly recommend changing this to a fly-in instead of the pop-up on your site here that interrupts user flow. And so maybe take a look at that. I know Klaviyo does that as well. So maybe look at adjusting that.
Okay.
Or we can look at helping you out with that.
Yes, Colin.
Yes. Okay. Like we've talked about, great in terms of the different mobile versus desktop display here. I love how it renders here on a home page that shows the collection page and has a completely different image on a mobile device as opposed to a desktop device. So that's a great example of what you can see the differences are between those two types of images. Though both of those link, I'm assuming that one on desktop does. Yep, the one on mobile does as well. So it goes right to a collection. Below there, one other thing I would look at changing on your collections here, and I think I've mentioned this in some of the other sites that I've looked at, is this real estate below here. So this main hero image is definitely the main attention getter. And as you scroll down below this, it's makes a lot of sense to have your collections split up. So you have two, so you have one side by side on a mobile device where they're stacked side by side to take up less real estate.
If you're scrolling
Okay.
on your any CD.
Okay. As I go down here, so collections look great. Limited use of some products here. Looks good. Anything specific you want me to look at?
If you were shopping just my subcategories, so the lines that you're on right there.
Yep.
The 3 menu lines. at
Yeah,
the
the
top.
3 menu lines. Just are those set up well?
So I would say it depends. You know your customer. What I would do is make sure, number one, your collections that are near the top of that menu are going to be the ones that are the most popular. And so all clothing, new arrivals, tops, those should be your top 3 most popular collections that people navigate to.
Okay.
Okay. Other than that, I'm going to assume I'm looking at this as I'm on a phone. The way that these menus are set up, if I can click on them and it goes right to the collection, great. And outside of that, if I was looking for something that's not there, you should be able to look at, and here's another point that I haven't mentioned yet, your search data. So when people are searching on your website, what are they searching for? So I click on this search and you should be able to look at on the back end in your site. I know if you're using the default Shopify search that's just built into your theme, you can see a search report that shows you what people are looking for on your website. And if people are searching for collections on your website using the search, then you probably need to do a better job of showing what information it is that people are searching for, just as a menu navigation item. Okay.
Okay.
So, which is another point for everybody else. If you have top searches that people are looking for, make sure you make it easier for people to find that information just by adding like a category collection or menu link on your website that makes it more prominent.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else?
I have the reviews set up, and I've had it for a couple of months and I haven't had any reviews yet. So how do we get those popping up and showing?
So have you not received any yet, or have you?
Oh, people aren't reviewing anything. So we send the email afterwards, right?
Yeah. I would look at that. Make sure you're a good way to try to get more reviews, incentivize people to leave a review. And so if they leave a review, give them like 10% off to come back when they buy again. Or maybe you need to be more aggressive with people to get them to come back. Maybe reach out manually and say, hey, just following up here, I'd love to see what you thought about this product, depending on your time and the amount of orders you have, right?
Okay.
But reviews are great. Again, if we all had access, like I know that you were on Jane as well, if you had the ability to be able to take those and add them into your website for products you're selling now, would have been great, which is definitely valid. But going from zero or starting out, it's a slow roll process, and not as many people leave reviews as you'd like or you'd think that they would. We as a percentage have seen that if we have 10,000 orders in a month, maybe we'll get like 500 reviews out of that, and that's typical for most people that buy products. They just don't leave reviews.
Okay.
Yeah. Anything else?
I don't think so.
All right, Brian Shreese, thank you. We'll talk to you guys soon. Okay, Jessica.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Good. Well,
Good.
see how good I am in a minute, right?
Don't be nervous. Let's see if I can find your site here.
Busy Mom's Boutique.
Busy Mom's Boutique. There you are. I see it in the chat there. Thanks for adding that. Okay, tell me about your company, your site.
So I actually just rebranded a few months ago. But my vision is to help busy moms create confidence among the chaos of motherhood, and creating their confidence through beautiful jewelry, taking care of themselves, and through self-care and mental health care. So I primarily have jewelry because that's what I completely was before I rebranded, but I'll be bringing in new things with this rebranding.
Makes sense. Okay, so I love the mission that you have as a company. That's great. It's fantastic. I see that you have that very prominent on your site here. What I don't connect when I visit your site as a user is what you actually sell.
Okay.
Right. And so I see the image with the text here. Like others, I would definitely start more with product and have a collection banner here that links to some collection that you have with a call to action on it, but then tie in your mission for sure. I love that. The idea behind, building confidence among women, busy moms. I think it's very, very valid and needed. But having the product in that journey needs to be an essential piece of what your customer experience is, right? Because ultimately, yeah, you're selling some stuff. And so talk about that and whatever the product is through your imagery and through how people experience that when they visit your site at first.
Okay.
Okay. Let me see. A lot of real estate being taken up here by text. And the image here, which isn't clickable, should have any images that you have, should have some kind of a purpose that directs to a call to action, meaning I have a collection page here and I'm shopping on like all of our ring collection or whatever it might be, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Like I've talked about with a few others, make those collection banners clickable, make the imagery clickable. The main image here, this picture takes up a lot more room than your hero image does too. And so I would investigate how can we create more value for the user through the use of maybe smaller images as collection banners below the hero image. And then the text on your hero image is definitely small. So I'd look at maybe a tool that would allow me to create a different mobile display image that allows me to show better text that people can actually read on a mobile device.
Okay.
Okay. Let's scroll down here. Let's take a look. Yeah, it looks like most of your images aren't really clickable here. So make sure you're connecting your collections with clickable images on your homepage. Okay. Collections look good. I like the display of the products like this, like the reviews on the collection pages. So a good use of real estate here. I'll take a look at a specific product. Looks good. I would, again, play with the color of your add to cart buttons. The contrast isn't huge. It does stand out a little bit, but it also doesn't make the add to cart text stand out. loses that text a little bit, if you can see what I'm saying, right? The add to cart text actually washes out a little bit. So maybe change the color of the add to cart text, or change the button color, maybe both. So you have a little bit more of a outstanding button color on your product pages.
Okay.
Okay. One point, and so I didn't bring this up with a few others, but this is, I think, a good opportunity, is that I'm going to ask you specifically. I'm assuming there's other websites that you shop on for whatever you buy, whether it's clothing or shoes or anything like that, right? When you are shopping online, tell me, how often are you reading about what a product is made of?
Well, it depends on what it is. I actually am a person that is concerned what my products are made out of, because I like to be like somewhat, I'm a little crunchy. So
Yep.
I do read what things are made of. And in terms of jewelry, you know, that to me anyway is important, because I want people to know this isn't going to be jewelry that's going to tarnish. It's not going to turn your finger green, right?
Yep.
So,
and I appreciate that. So one of my points here is that text on product pages like this, it can be valuable, but it's typically utilized in the customer experience at the point where they're already close to making a decision on whether or not they want to either add this to cart or buy it, right? And so they first use imagery to see what it is that they are deciding whether or not they're going to buy. From that, then they're going to make a decision. I probably want to buy this. Maybe I'll read a little bit about it just to make sure of XYZ, right? The things that you just talked about. It's hypoallergenic. I want to make sure that the chain is long enough, whatever it is. They've kind of already made a decision, but they just need a little bit more information about it. A lot of the text that gets added to product pages tends to be either redundant or useless or never gets read. And along those lines, what I would recommend is, while I wouldn't say that this is redundant or useless information, it should take up the appropriate amount of real estate on your product page relative to the amount of people that would actually use that info. Because what you'll find is a lot less people are using it than you think that they are. And so we'll do things by adding maybe some abbreviated text on the product page that actually shows when the product page loads, but maybe having some collapsible sections about like what it's made of, or things like that are a lot more detailed information that people can access, but take up less space on the page.
okay, that makes sense. The collapsible, like,
yeah,
would be like where you see like materials or how to use or how to take care of, and
exactly.
Then you click okay,
you got it. Yeah.
Okay.
Customer reviews, great. I love those on the product pages, obviously. Oh, looks like we got a pop-up here. Tell me about that.
Well, to collect emails, obviously.
Yep. So like a few others, it's interesting that it popped up so late in the customer journey. And so at this point, there should be a hypothesis about why it's timely in terms of my experience in seeing this. And so maybe your hypothesis is like, if somebody's on a product page for X amount of time and still hasn't added something to their cart, maybe they just need a little bit of an incentive in order to buy. And so this would be that incentive, right? So maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I would also recommend, again, the modal pop-ups like this just tend to kill the user experience. So I'm not against adding forms where people would opt in like this, but make them less intrusive, like a fly-in or something like that, that people can just X out of very easily if they want to.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else specific you'd like me to look at?
No, I was mostly concerned with the homepage, and you answered my questions on that. So, yeah.
Yeah, menu navigation looks good. Again, like I've said previously, make sure that these are your highest navigated collections. Let's see, collection pages look good. Okay, good job.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. All right, it looks like I've got Lauren here with her hand up still. You can go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hi.
Hi, Lauren. How are you?
Good. I'm on my phone and I couldn't find the chat thing to put my website in.
No problem. What is it?
It's sweettreeshop.com.
Is it 1 T or 2?
2.
Yeah, I'm gonna look at your mobile display here first. Okay, I've got a big old image of your logo above the fold here. I'm looking at a mobile. Let's see, your one-stop jewelry shop, Sweet Tree, creating unique handmade jewelry for every occasion. So I like that you have some branded text here that says, here's what we are and what we do. The problem I have is that the logo on the main part of the page is going to be a bit redundant. And so I see your logo at the very top here, which is great. I would want some branded imagery of whatever your handmade jewelry pieces are that are like, is going to stand out. Maybe a seasonal type banner or something like that, that's going to show me image wise what it is that you do.
Okay.
Okay.
Should I put a picture of me putting a jewelry together? Like a professional picture or?
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, something really cool like that. I would update it at least seasonally, and make sure, like I've talked about with others, it's a linkable image, that it renders differently both on the desktop and mobile, and that there's some kind of call to action within that image. And so maybe it's like shop bracelets or shop earrings or whatever it is.
Okay.
Okay. Like I've said with a few others, the imagery or the display of products on the homepage can be really, really difficult. I would switch that out for collection banners. So you have images that link to the collections that you would want to navigate people to. And one of the challenges with this, and the reason why, is that if I'm on your homepage and I'm looking at specific products, number one, the odds that I'm going to navigate directly to and want to buy that specific product without looking at anything else is pretty small. And number two is that if I'm going to a specific product page and I really want to see, okay, like here's these earrings, but now I want to see all the other earrings, I'm skipping some steps in the navigation that people would naturally encounter, where I'm going from homepage to directly to product. And I can't see the middle ground of where people would see all of the collections or the products that you would be selling. Okay. So allow people to go naturally through the customer flow of seeing more products, which is probably the way you shop as well, narrowing down from that to the specific products they want by going from collection to product page.
Okay.
Okay. I can take your product page here. Let's take a look at that. Imagery looks really good. I see that there's just one image on this product page. Is that typical for your product pages, or do you usually have more?
Yes. That's just lack of not being having time to do others. I probably should have some of the girls wearing them. Would probably help with size range.
Studio stuff is great. Lifestyle stuff is great too. What we find is that studio is going to get people to click and interested in a product. Lifestyle is going to actually confirm that they're going to that they can buy it. And the reason why is people want to see the product in its best light. That's going to get clicks. But then when they look at lifestyle, what that does is it helps them to see there's somebody like that is wearing it. And that helps me to see myself wearing that product.
Okay.
Okay. So both of them will help and add value. But yeah, time-wise, I get it. But images on your product pages are what's going to sell more than anything else.
Okay.
Okay. Again, buy now buttons, those are difficult. I would test that. I would probably default to just removing them and having people go from product page to add to cart to buy. When you, again, add to cart buttons, kind of like I talked about with a few others, play with colors there. I would want to make that stand out. There's a reason why Shopify uses this purple button, because it contrasts and it stands out. And so people will probably default to clicking that and maybe not even realizing that they're going to buy now instead of adding it to cart.
Okay.
So I would play with that. Okay. And that looks good. I'm going to add to cart here and see what happens. Cool. I like this pop down display here that keeps people on the page. Very good. Okay. Anything else specific you want me to look at?
No, on the drop down on the left side, I have my collections. I do like NFL, NHL, as you can see, and holiday. Do I need to convert all the holiday into one, or? all the sports into one, just pick colors instead of teams, or?
So maybe what I would do, and there's a couple of different ways to do that. I would start bigger with collections. And so I would say earrings, I would say, bracelets or whatever the collections are that you might have that you can start with. And then within each collection, have the ability for people to navigate from that primary collection to maybe sub collections after that. And so you can look into a few apps that do like, what are they called? Your big drop down menus on the homepage. Let me go back to your homepage here. Man, why it's totally escaping my mind right now. But there's a number of ways where you can have main navigation menus, and then underneath that, it will pop down with secondary menus that allow you to see sub collections within that. So somebody may see like, okay, I see all of the earrings here. Now in earrings, I can shop like the Big 12 collection, ACC, or all sports, or whatever it might be. But I would also make sure that you have the ability for people to navigate from big picture collections down through the sub menu collections there.
Okay.
And look at the data, right? Always look at the data. What are people navigating to? So what are the main primary categories? That would be a good test for your homepage here. Again, clickable image should be your main hero image, featuring like, okay, you have your like holiday collection, but then after that, play with your collections that you show on your homepage. And so you have maybe all earrings, and then next to it, you have like your ACC earrings, or whatever it might be based on where people are navigating to.
Okay. Perfect.
Yep. Hopefully that answered your question.
Yes.
All right, good. And that may be, we got one more here that popped in. Cherished impressions. You can go ahead and mute yourself there.
Hello.
Hi, how are you? What's your name?
Shay.
Faith, how are you?
It's Shay.
Oh, Shay? Sorry.
Yep. It's
Yeah,
okay.
and what is your site?
It's chairandpress.com. So CHER, and it should be in the chat. But I'll put it.
I didn't see that there. Oh, got it.
Okay.
So tell me about your site and what you do.
Women's accessories.
Okay. I'm going to pop this down here. Okay, let's reload that. Maybe it'll display a little bit different. Okay, so you went the other route with than a lot of people have here. And so a couple of points of feedback at the top of your site here, I definitely want to see on a number one, mobile, right? So everything that you do, 80% of your users are going to see your content on a mobile device. So always optimize for mobile first. I would want to see at the very top in this menu navigation, some kind of a logo that shows your brand, the main hero image below that. For some reason, this is pushing up pretty close to the top here. So it cuts off the display of that hero image at the top. It doesn't look like that links anywhere either. So if I'm looking at this on a mobile device, all I really see on your homepage here is a bunch of collections, which then kind of changes my impression of what it is that you do and your branding about your products. Okay. So you want to make sure that you have some kind of a hero image that communicates that, what you do. Your branding very clearly has a call to action that links to something that is very, very seasonal, primary to your collections that you sell. Okay. I do like that you have so many category-based images below this. What I would probably do with some of this is look at the ones that are the highest navigation menus or navigation collections. And narrow it down to maybe like 4 to 6 of them. And so maybe it'd be like shop bracelets, shop jewelry, shop earrings, shop necklaces, right? Whatever those collections are, and then allow those collection images to take up a little bit more space. Okay. And then branding. So branding would be anything that's very communicating very clearly about like who we are and why we do what we do, that builds a relationship with the customer. Now, I don't see that you have a pop-up that asks for people's emails. So I would look at something like that, like a fly-in, like I've talked about with a few others, that is collecting emails from people as they visit your site, and do like some kind of offer to get people to opt into giving them, getting emails from them. Okay. I do see you have that in the navigation below here, but I would make it a bit more prominent.
Okay.
Okay. And then like others, I love reviews on the homepage. So if you're not collecting reviews, you definitely want to have something that's displaying those reviews on the homepage. So it adds some validity to your brand as well. Other in terms of branding, for sure, the about us type content. I love to see stuff like that, which creates a little bit more of a relationship with people. Even though it's not going to directly drive conversion, it does help people to feel like they're buying from a person rather than just some company that they don't know. Okay. Anything specific you want me to take a look at?
So would you think that it would be more clean looking if I didn't have my models as the main image, or should I do like product, like a studio photo versus a live shot as the main photos like that?
So the main photos themselves, yeah,
That you're looking at right now?
Yeah, I get it. So don't let aesthetics get in the way of flow, right? And so I see it a lot where people are trying to talk about like how it looks on the page, and we get obsessive about those types of things and then forget about, well, what is it that's actually working? And so to answer your question, what I would tell you is test to see what works. And so if you have an image of, like, for example, your stylish bracelets here, if you have a link, a menu link here with this image, and then you change it to something else that's maybe a little bit more lifestyle or even more studio based, what does it do in terms of performance and the number of people that click on it?
Okay, makes sense.
Right. And I would do the same thing with your hero images. What we find is that your hero image, which would be the main banner at the top of your homepage, you want something that represents brand a little bit more. So something that has more of a professional feel to it can work a little bit better.
Okay. And would you have this be your main page, or I have the store? I was debating between that one and categories, but it sounded like you kind of like the categories as your main.
Yes. So I would not put your a bunch of products on your homepage. If you do, maybe just a couple of them that are the primary products that maybe are the top sellers. But you want to allow people to filter from not really knowing much about your brand or what you sell to the secondary type, which is then what collections are there that you offer, and shop through those collections. You know, when you think about it, if you go shopping yourself and you're like, okay, I need to buy like some earrings for this outfit that I have. Like, what you're not thinking is, I need this very specific earring for this outfit. Maybe you know the color, maybe you know somewhat of the style, but you don't know the exact one yet. So you're going to shop through the earring collections and try to find some that are similar to what you're envisioning until you find the one. Right? Your website experience should be very much the same. So allow people to go from step A to B to C to allow them to see what options there are, and then they're going to pick one out of that.
Great. Thanks, Steve.
Yep. You're very welcome. Hopefully that helps. Thank you so much. All right. And Tiffany, your hand is still raised there. Did you have another question? Okay. If not, that's awesome. Thank you guys so much. Hopefully this was very, very helpful to everybody. I'm going to pop my contact information here one more time for everybody. But that's all I had planned for today. Hopefully that was a lot of good stuff for you guys. Let me go back here. There it is. Okay. Yeah. Hopefully you guys learned a ton. Thank you guys so much for coming today. This was fun for me too. I love looking at different people's sites and seeing kind of where everybody is in the journey, and hopefully some tips there to help you guys out to get better set up for your site and improve your user flow and increase conversion there overall. But if you guys need help or any other questions, feel free to reach out here. But other than that, thank you guys so much.